Hey, what's up everybody? Pen here. This is my updated video on the Hisense U8G picture settings, SDR, HDR, Dolby Vision, and game settings for PlayStation 5 and PC. Those are the sources that I have connected. My software version on the Hisense U8G is the M0210. That's the most updated firmware. That's stable. I know that the beta firmware is available, but I do not have access to that, unfortunately. So I will be making this video on the latest stable firmware. Okay. All right. So I got one of my gameplay videos in the background on YouTube. So this is for SDR. I'm going to pull up the menu on my remote by pressing the icon on the main menu for the remote. So you're going to go into picture settings. And I'm going to zoom in here so you guys can see this, because what's important here is the settings. For the backlight, local dimming set on medium, backlight level on 100. Turn automatic light sensor off and leave this on default. For my picture mode, I chose filmmaker. Now I'm going to zoom out quite a bit. Contrast is 50, brightness is 50, my color for SDR is 54, my tint 0, sharpness at default 25, picture size grayed out wide, and you want to apply this to all sources. So go to advanced settings, color temperature, mid-low, motion enhancement. This is important. When you are playing your movies and TV shows, your anime, your various sources, typically those sources are going to be between 23 or 24 frames per second. With motion enhancement off, the motion is worse. My eyes are very sensitive to like the judder or the stutter that can occur when watching low frame rate content. I put it on clear because as far as the presets, custom is your custom and off is off. So the official presets is going to be film, clear, standard, and smooth. So what I did was film introduces very little soap opera effect. It's supposed to clean up the image, but clear, it does introduce some soap opera effect, but it doesn't overdo it. So this is in the middle for me. So I choose clear, and I have clear for my SDR, my HDR, and Dolby Vision. You can play around with these presets. You can also do custom. I know what's good for custom is setting the judder reduction at 3. And you can do blur at 0, or you can play around. You know, you can do your custom. Judder reduction at 3 is going to also introduce some soap opera, but it's not going to overdo it. It's going to smooth out the image. You can try that, or you can choose clear. Motion clearness off, noise and digital noise off. HDMI dynamic range is on auto grade off. I have active contrast off. Active contrast is off because it crushes black levels and it sort of it over brightens some things, and it can dynamically change the image depending on what you're watching. Just in my observation, in my opinion, when I'm watching, active contrast is off for me across all profiles. Now, if you do like active contrast, I'm going to link some settings in the description, and shout out to like 4K Fanatic and the other posters from Reddit and AVS, and they can help you guys out with that. Color space native, instant game response off. It's not gaming. Free syncs grayed out because this is not an HDMI 2.1 port. Okay, calibration settings. The gamma is 2.2, and the only thing that I did was a white balance 2 point. R offset 1, G offset -2, B offset 1, G gain -3. That's it. And feel free to pause the video as I'm going through this. So now we can move on to HDR, and I'll show off those settings. Okay, I turned on one of my recommended 4K reference movies, Alita Battle Angel. I have it paused because this is a HDR source, and I'll be using this for the Dolby Vision settings as well. So you bring up your menu on your remote on the Hisense U8G, you go to picture, and you also notice that I'm in filmmaker mode as well, but I'm going to go to backlight. Local dimming is set to medium. Now notice when it's on high, it sort of darkens the image, but in HDR, Dolby Vision, and SDR, I noticed that when local dimming is on medium, it gives better like brightness overall to the image. You know, it clears up some things, it enhances it a little bit, and it doesn't make a world of a difference, but it is noticeable. So for your local dimming, medium is definitely going to be recommended for these presets, these selections, these settings. Backlight level at 100, that doesn't change. Leave automatic light sensor off. Picture mode is filmmaker mode. Okay, well, wait a minute, Pan. Just how do I know if it's in HDR? Simple. See, HDR Vivid, HDR Standard, HDR Energy Saving. These are the HDR picture presets. Filmmaker mode is also a part of that. Now, you can do these same settings on HDR Theater or HDR Standards. Some of you are more familiar with those. This is just personal preference to me. I choose filmmaker mode. Contrast 67, brightness 50, color 57, and these are HDR settings. Wait, camera is bugging out. Tint 0, sharpness 25, that's default. Picture size wide, apply to all sources. Advanced, color tint mid-low. Motion enhancement clear. Motion clearness off, noise digital off, active contrast off again. And I'm going to speed this up a bit because you can feel free to pause the video if you have any additional questions. Color space native, instant gain response off, FreeSync off, of course. Calibration settings. HDR content is locked at a gamma of SD 2084. So I did a white balance 2-point. And the only thing I changed was the G offset -1 and G gain -3. And shout out to the posters on AVS and Reddit. They inspired this video, and I did some custom tweaks to my liking based on how I like the TV. And once again, these are with active contrast off. So that is my settings and just a small calibration for HDR content on the Hisense U8G. Now for the same film, I will be doing the Dolby Vision settings and we'll be going into the game settings. I will be right back. Okay, I'm back. I'm going to go into Dolby Vision, go into picture, backlight, local dimming medium, backlight level 100. You're usually going to want your backlight level to be at 100, but to get optimum black levels or better black levels, or if you just don't want the picture to be bright, you can always lower this. This is personal preference. I just leave it at 100 because I love this bright display. It's the brightest display I've ever owned, and HDR and Dolby Vision content just pops. Colors look vivid, beautiful. You know, this 1500 nits of brightness is really special with this TV. So we're in Dolby Vision. This is Dolby Vision Custom. So there's Dolby Vision IQ, Dark, and Custom. Dolby Vision on this set does target like a darker sort of like color grade, if that makes sense, which is why the settings are how they are, to balance the contrast and the brightness so that the picture doesn't look washed out or overblown, but there's a balance to it. Contrast is 76. Brightness is 51. My color is 59. Tint 0. Leaf sharpness at default, once again, 25. Picture size, default. Apply to all sources. Advanced settings. I'm using the mid-low color temperature. It just looks the best to me on this TV. Once again, this is going to be personal preference, but I would just stick to mid-low. Motion enhancement, clear. Noise and digital off. After contrast is off. And then all the rest of the stuff is default. Calibration. It's locked at 2.2 gamma. Did a 2-point white balance. G offset, -1. G gain, -3. That's it for Dolby Vision. SDR, HDR, Dolby Vision for watching your movies, TVs, your anime, all that. All of it looks good with these settings. This is not a reference perfect accuracy. Not everybody's into reference. People just want their TVs to be bright enough, their colors to pop, and the picture to look good. That's the general sense that I'm getting from the feedback from my videos and from various sources. So now we're going to get into the game settings. All right, so you guys see this is the PlayStation 5, and I'm going to go into the settings. So I'm going to go into the picture. And the picture mode is game. Backlight, I have local dimming set to medium. Backlight level 100. Leave everything else off or that default. Now, contrast 60. These are my settings. These are just what looks good to me. And once again, shout out to the posters on the forums, because people make recommended settings based off to their liking, and you can tweak based off what you know or what you want to have. Brightness is at 45. Color, I have that at 56. Let me get this down here. Tint 0, sharpness 25. Apply to all sources. Advanced settings. Color temperature, mid-low. Motion clearness off. All these are deactivated because this is game mode, so motion enhancement is going to be off by default. HDMI denied range auto, leave that at auto. Active contrast is off in this mode. Color space is set to native. Instant game response is on in game mode. And then FreeSync, I have FreeSync on because PlayStation just had their variable refresh rate update like just yesterday, VRR. So I do have FreeSync on. At the moment I have it on, and I think I'll leave it on. So you're probably wondering, how come this is not an HDR? It's not HDR because the latest Hisense firmware update that's stable, it sort of washed out the colors for HDR, and a lot of people find it like not satisfying enough. SDR is more vivid, more bright. It just looks better at the moment. And plus, I don't game in HDR. I usually watch movies, TV shows in HDR and Dolby Vision. Now, this is a deal breaker for you. You can head over to the links that I have in the description. There are HDR settings if you wish to try that out. I just have HDR turned off on my PS5 currently because it looks significantly worse than SDR. That's just in my testing. Now I'm going to go to the calibration settings. Gamma is 2.2. White balance 2-point. R offset -1. Then the G gain of -4. And I'll make that 3. And that's about it. That's the only 2-point that I changed on here. That's it. This is the SDR game mode for the Hisense U8G. I have the 65-inch. And it is plugged in to the HDMI 2.1 port. So right now it's set up top 4K at 60 Hertz. But when I enable a game that's 120 Hertz, it will go to 120 Hertz. So that's about it. Let me know down in the comments if you guys have any more questions. I'll be making more videos on the Hisense further this week. More videos coming soon in the future. And until next time, peace out. Thank you for watching the video.